Hey, hello
Hey,
everyone.
happy birthday.
Hi everyone, and you who are tuning in live watching this. So what the heck are we doing today? Well, it's our second live and show and share, and we love doing this so much that we did it again this week. So, but first, who we are. We have today Kira, Megan, Michelle, Juan, Jessica, Fanny, and me, Benoît, from Pencil and Paper Labs. So Labs, yeah, we are creating practical resources and materials for people looking to level up their UX game. Yes, you. So check out our articles and course at pencilandpaper.io. We should have something on, at the end of the screen here, pencilandpaper.io. Anyway, so today, are you in the mood to go clubbing? I mean, book clubbing. Sorry, this is the only joke I had. So we do a lot of reading at P&P. So I want to ask the crew to share one book that they changed how they design. So the one book that changed everything, or maybe not everything, just maybe a little something in their design, or they think about design, whatever. All right. So who want to go first? Come on. Wow.
I'll go.
Everybody else.
Okay, let me put you here. There it is.
Okay. In terms of books changing the way I design, I am a project manager with a design degree. So I'm going for Designers Don't Read by Austin Howe, which is a book about design, not written by a designer, but as someone who is an art director, writer, creative director, and who worked extensively with designers in the advertising world. And it's a nice refresher on the importance and centrality of design, but at its core, it's about working in the field of design, working with designers and with other roles in design firms and in the design industry, and how all of those roles should fit together and support each other. So it talks a bit about how design should be a full immersion, not just a last stage touch-up to make the end product look better. Design shouldn't be decoration. It should be part of the entire process, start to finish, which is something I know we all believe in a lot. And one line I pulled out from this is, designers are not decorators. They're problem solvers, and it takes brains to solve problems, not just taste. And it's a lot about the business of design. How many ideas to present? Only the best ones. The importance of presentation skills, what to do when you have the design equivalent of writer's block. It's just a helpful book to remind people who work as a designer or with designers about how design firms can and maybe should be behaving and what they should be striving for, and how design shouldn't just be one piece of the problem-solving puzzle. It should be the root of it. It should be in there start to finish. So, yeah.
Wow, I think we should
Designers
add
don't read.
the show and share here. If that's too good. We're done. We're done.
Okay. That's it. That's me.
Thanks, Jess.
Highly
Yeah.
recommend.
You said something I want to put to present your best ideas. And maybe it's a question. Is it because I see so many times we present 2-3 mock-ups and we let the client decide. And I always feel awkward about it because we should know better and say, this is the best one. We show only one, and it's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not on the one who. I'm not crazy. Well, I do. No.
But if you're just working with each other, you just, you would just share all of your shittiest ideas. Like we've had, I feel like Fanny, we've definitely done this where we've been like playing with different ideas, and sometimes I'll interpret something that she said in a different way, like the way that she didn't mean, or vice versa. And then actually, because of one piece of confusion, one piece of creativity, we came up with the best idea.
Yeah.
And you only
That-
present one.
And that makes
Shittiest-
sense.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense when you're working like designer to designer, but when you're bringing things to a client, there should be enough confidence in what you're presenting that you don't feel the need to give them an avalanche of work just to show your work, to be like, look how many things we made. We're obviously worth what you're paying us.
Yeah.
It freaks people out too, honestly. You show them too much stuff, they're just like,
I think you're
And I-
touching on some. I'll go. I think you're touching on something that I was just chatting about yesterday with Benoît, where the scientific method that kind of underlies the design process can really help present results and get a client to be aligned, or get somebody to be aligned with the thinking, and also to help you feel like your thinking isn't just taste or thinking out of your own instinct and your own experience, but that it is based in you did have a hypothesis that was based on a problem you noticed, and then you did something to test it, and that's why you're presenting this design. It doesn't have to be for every single design decision that you're presenting, but I think that's also a way to get someone to follow along with the thinking process, and to not have to show three different things. Maybe it evolved three different times along the way, but I think that the mild scientific method that we use underneath helps with this as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Wonderful.
Fanny, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to add, like, we've all probably been burned before when, let's say, you write it in your agreement that you're going to present 3 options, and then you don't have 3 options, and you still send them over, and then they pick the worst one. Like,
Yeah.
that's painful.
Yeah,
It
That's
happens.
bad. Yeah, that's bad. At P&P, we never did that. No.
Yeah.
No.
Or they
Yes,
want to merge.
before I meant my past lives.
Great. Who's next?
Well, I'm here.
Oh.
Well, I can go. My book that I chose is Frank Chimero's The Shape of Design. And I know Benoît has the fancy version. I bought the small non-hardcover version. But yeah, so Frank Chimero is a brand and product designer from New York. So he wrote this little book, which is almost philosophical. It's not quite the workbook. It's more about what is design, what does it mean, and what role do you play as a designer in the world, really. And ever since I read it, I kept a lot of his ideas in my thinking about design. I loved how he frames design as like untruths, so fictions, and how every design is a small exploration into potential futures, and while also being the way to get there. So it's not only about the ideation and thinking of all like the different scenarios and the different fictions that you might want to make real. It's also about the execution of that and making those fictions real. So there's this chapter, it's called Fiction and Bridges, about that. And I found that really interesting, and it always kept me thinking about design as like future thinking, where whatever you're designing, you're actually creating a little split in the metaverse, and you're deciding if you're choosing the right, like you're deciding which future to go towards at small scales, of course, because we are designing, like digital tools, but still, and all of these little decisions. I like how he phrases it. He keeps saying how this process inches us closer to our best or full potential, and I really love that it's in these small improvements that we can make to our current state, our current work life tools that we use. Even the smallest bump, like the smallest upgrade you can make, actually does a difference. And I feel it echoes a lot with what like P&P does in trying to elevate UX standards in the enterprise world. It happens like one interaction at a time, but we are raising the bar inch by inch. So that's kind of always kept with me, and I really love it. Yep.
Cool. There's a great quote I want in this book. I am underlined. Do not make something unless it's both necessary and useful. But if it's both, do not hesitate to make it beautiful. And
Right.
I shared that to so many people. It's a great book. A great coffee table book also.
Yeah, there's illustrations inside.
So
He has little drawings.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I really like what you said, Fanny, about the one interaction at a time. I think about that a lot. Like, people are working all hard at work, trying to think, getting super mad at what software they're using all the time. And when we're making those flows better and stuff like that, I just always I wonder how many molecules of rage we've saved. Can we quantify that, please?
Measure of success.
I love that.
I believe it has something to do with table flips per year.
Yeah, per year.
doesn't matter how
project.
many hours you're working on something. It's how many iterations you have. Well, Kira, it's your turn.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, I'm in the thing right now.
Yeah, you're in the thing. We call it interweb.
Yes, I'm in the interweb box here. So I have a physical copy that I lent to somebody, so I don't have it. But this is the book for me. Ooh, information architecture for the World Wide Web. This one I read a few years after I started doing UX stuff, and a really cool part of this book that weaves through in various parts is describing this digital information landscape into a physical place. And that really stuck with my career, I guess, is thinking about things as more of a place than just like a flat screen that is there. It is, these digital landscapes, I guess, change more than physical ones, but I think it's kind of a cool idea to have place as a concept in what you do, or like how you design, because places are things that people participate in and you need to take care of and you need to maintain and be thoughtful about, and they have a preciousness there, or an impact on human beings. So that really like blew my mind about this book, and even when I think about it later, I'm like, whoa. But it also, just the information architecture stuff is like just things I was naturally doing, and it was so nice to it goes through and like puts more structure around what you're doing intuitively. I always find that's like a good therapy moment. You're like, oh yeah, this is like a real thing. People manage information. It's not just something, just not my like ability to clean up messes and organize the thing. It's a real discipline that's kind of cool for me anyway to identify with as a designer. So
Yeah.
This is a book, as UX designer, there's some book that you have to reread once again, 1 or 2 times. Information architecture is dense. This is a dense book. There's a lot of things. Reading it every 2-3 years is not a bad thing.
yeah, I got to get my copy back.
Yeah, because we
Maybe
love.
get like an.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can get an audiobook and play it on 2 times speed after you've read it the first time.
Yeah,
That's
true.
intense.
Does it have? But I don't know. That's like so smart.
Well,
Are there like accompanying visuals though for
Figures and stuff,
Yeah.
probably.
If I
Fit your
remember
head.
right, when I first read it, I had a CD-ROM with the book, with some examples. So it's an
Cute.
old book.
You're aging yourself.
Juan, it's your turn
All right, it's my turn.
because of your what you said. Yeah.
But sorry, you should have said USB stick. This is the book that I chose. It's called Information Dashboard Design, and is by Stephen Few, which, according to the book, he is an international leader in the realm of dashboard design. And at the time, I was building a lot of dashboards for industrial facilities in my previous life. And I think the biggest thing that I took from it is that data is not information. And it's a great book because it talks about all the different types of charts that you could use in a dashboard, what their intended purpose is, where to use them, what type of data is better to be represented with a bar chart as opposed to a pie chart or a line chart. So it talks about all those in extreme detail, and it gives you like very practical examples that you could use as analogies for whatever you're building. So yeah, great book. I didn't go through all of it. You can kind of see where the sticky notes kind of went halfway, just because I was really focused on what I was going to do at the time. It has a great definition of what a dashboard is and what it isn't. So I'll just read that part because I think it's very interesting. So a dashboard is not a display that is used for data exploration, a portal, a scorecard, a report that people use to look specific facts. So that's what it's not. So the biggest thing about a dashboard is designed to help people maintain situational awareness. And that's extremely important when you talk about industrial facilities, where the decisions that they need to make based on the information that is provided to them have real life consequences in terms of loss of money, loss of time, loss of life. So the information that you presenting to the users needs to be clear. It needs to give them insights into what's actually happening in the real world, and it can help them make the correct decisions to prevent any of the potential bad scenarios that it could cause. So yeah, great book. It's good to just kind of like go through it. There's no like you can read it from beginning to end, but you know if you're building a pie chart or a bar chart, just go to that section and get the juicy details from it. But I highly recommend it if you're building any sort of dashboard or anything with data. That's it.
Dashboard.
Nice.
Yeah.
I really like this author a lot. My book's
Yeah,
is the same author too.
yeah, not planned.
Yeah.
So you're doing a lot of data visualization these days, right, Megan?
I'm just reading more into it, so I'm very curious. It's all part of like dashboards and enterprise. It comes up a lot, so a lot to read up on. So this is the book I'm doing, Information Dashboard Design by the same author, Stephen Few. And it starts off, I love the beginning, with history of dashboards, and it actually includes a lot of historical dashboards and a lot of examples that are just like, check that out.
Yep.
Oh
This
my
is
God,
like
yes.
so fun and hilarious. I mean, he talks a lot about where dashboards came from. So in the beginning, people didn't know what they knew. They wanted like a source, like a single source of truth, sort of, to look at. But there was a lot of analogies with like vehicular dashboards, like actually your car.
Hard dashboard.
So you can see there's the theme of like dials and like chrome metal. Like a lot of effort was put into making it as much like a physical dashboard as possible, and you can see it across like quite a lot of different platforms historically. So that's the beginning section, and there's like things about common problems. The area that I really liked and I took a lot away from was there's different types of dashboards. So, for example, operational dashboard, that's kind of like what Juan was saying. You need to have like very specific alerts. If something breaks or goes down, it's like, you need to know you're losing money by the second, or there could be lives at risk. That kind of dashboard's different from, say, a strategic dashboard. That might be what an executive is looking at just to judge the performance of the people that they're managing. So, performance and context and goals and how that fits in versus like an analytical dashboard that could be someone who's interested in just seeing things and then being able to drill down later on and dive deeper and use that dashboard as a jumping off point. So I really liked how they laid that out. I thought that was very interesting. The book also, like similar to Juan's book, it does go into design basics of dashboards, like just thought principles and all that, how to present information. I'm still reading it. This is actually a book I'm reading right now, so I'm partway through.
So it's influencing your career this week.
Yeah, right now.
I think we need a book around dashboard, but to facilitate conversation and negotiation around dashboard, because the workshops I found the most challenging were the dashboard kind of workshop where people are saying, you need to be aware of that, you need to be aware, I want this and I want this, and we need 12 dashboard, and that was not an easy thing to facilitate during any workshop, because first, like Juan said, they don't know what is about dashboard. It's not to to dig in data, but to be aware, and that means we need to understand what the organization is looking for, what signals that the organization, and it's not easy to facilitate this.
It's really hard. Too, like we built a dashboard that was for an internal product, and it had 5 or 6 distinct personas with different job roles, and they didn't totally agree on what the key metrics for their department were. So I totally feel you on this one, because it was like the design work that we were doing was actually just stirring up conflict internally, and we were like, cool. So plus on that, Benoît.
And on top of that, absolutely, yeah, it's not easy. And on top of that, there's always someone who say, let me show you how to build a dashboard, and he's just opening Excel and he's doing a dashboard, and just do that. Just but this is not, we're not fixing a problem. So it feels easy to build a dashboard because we have the tool in front of us in Excel and Google Sheet and all, but yeah, it's not. And just try to make it responsive, just for fun.
And learn all the data, the data model, all the data, how long it goes back for, all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
So
I mean, sorry, I just wanted to add a closing thought. One thing that users usually don't understand is that they want the data, but they don't understand to put it in context. So, for example, they say, we want to see all the temperatures for all these sensors or something like that. And the question that I would ask would be like, how do you know if something is within the appropriate range? How do you know if it's bad temperature or good temperature? How close are we getting to like explosion points or something like that? So being able to put like those ranges of like, this is, if we're here, we're okay. If we're over this, we're going to explode. So it's always interesting. So I get the feeling Benoît talks about facilitating those meetings, because they just want the data. They don't care how you put it in, but there's a lot of considerations to make.
And then you put it in and they're like, no.
Yeah. Please no.
This is too much information. Why did you put so much stuff in here?
and
You told me to.
it's very hard to test also, because you have to stay with them all day, sitting, with them at their desk and see how they think, how they're making a decision, and just how they glance at the dashboard. It's very hard to test. Usability wise, it is, but in the journey, it's not an easy thing to do. So, Juan, Megan, we need you to finish the books and come back to us.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's my turn. So for me, it's User Palooza. It's a field research guide by Nick Baumask. I love it because, I know the guy first. And I love what he said is a field researcher guide because it's easier to design for a customer you understand, of course. And why this book? Because of course I love it, but I don't know why I love when someone is writing a book and self-publish. It's always very interesting. And I read so many user research books, so many of them. But it's the only book that I feel it's generally useful. Nick really captured the reality of field research. He skipped the why, the jargon, or you have to listen, you have to whatever it is. So you go directly to the practical stuff, and I really needed this practical stuff. He did it for the last 25 years, and he loved doing it. It's all about curiosity and how you are as a UX researcher, also how you define yourself, how you talk, how you everything about your sense, how you talk, how you behave, how you're present, and this is there in the book. And sometimes just before user research, I just take a look at it, read it again, and it is grounding me as a UX researcher. And so I went to doing a lot of artifacts, a lot of tactics, and going back to why I'm doing researching, who I'm talking to, how I can find participants, how I'm priming myself and the team to do a user research. There's a lot of proven interview techniques, absolutely, but how you opening your sense and how you can open the user world, that's hard. And at the end of it, it's all to make sense of the data and shaping and sharing all your insights with a lot of humor also. That's why I love it. So I gave this book several times, and Michelle, it's in your case. You'll have one very soon. And that's it. So user research by Nick Baumas. There it is. That's it.
Yeah. That's like a really good point, Benoît, too, about sort of like priming your mindset before you go into a mode in design, because we do so many different types of things that we get into a really specific mindset, like produce, do, and research is actually kind of special. Like you be able to whip yourself a little bit out of that and turn on the curiosity button.
And be vulnerable also. If you want to connect with people, you have to become vulnerable, and that means you don't search. You're not searching for a solution or an answer. You're just listening, and you're listening to yourself at the same time. That's not easy sometimes, How to say thank you, how to welcome someone, how they can welcome you in their home or their place, and all of this, and it's not. It's a job.
So you want to hear about my weird book?
Oh yeah.
My background in terms of like the things I've read to learn things is in theater. I studied humanities and specifically theater. And there were a few practical classes we took, and I took a directing class, and we studied Viewpoints, which is an approach to like directing and composition and performance, and how to view a scene or view a moment from different viewpoints, like different perspectives. And they're specifically like physical perspectives or embodied perspectives. And actually, I'm thankful, Kira, you brought up the landscape example and this thing that you felt you intuitively knew architecture and how to navigate the landscape of concepts and information, and there was something physical in your description, and I think it connects to what I've learned from this book, and it's like all the layers of experience in a moment. And I'll surely lead one of these viewpoints exercises at our next retreat. But the examples of viewpoints are tempo. So the rate or speed at which movement is happening. So you can see there are some that have pretty clear links to design, or like what you're feeling and doing as you're making design decisions about how someone experiences something. There's duration, how long a movement or sequence lasts. So there's the speed, there's the duration, there's repetition. So like how things are, I guess, just repeating, whether it's like a repeating shape or repeating tempo or repeating gesture. Then there's also, so those are like viewpoints of time, and then there's viewpoints of space. So you'll have shape, so you'll have like straight lines, curves, and you can imagine in movement or in performance what this brings to a character or brings to human behavior. And these are also, I guess, things you can read as you're interviewing people or you're sensing body language. Like, are they more like a straight line or more like a curve? Like, do they move more like a straight line or more like a curvy shape? There are a couple more too, and spatial relationship, architecture, topography. So these are really physical things that we would at the time explore in our bodies, and just move around a space considering these different specific ways of just conceptualizing or perceiving time and space. And I think that a lot of this comes through, at least in the design work that I'm doing, when I'm thinking of like how a user is experiencing something or an experience I'm creating. There are all of these dimensions to keep in mind, like aside from the visual and the space, like what's the rhythm like as they're going through this? Where should things be, more quick, or take more time to percolate? And I'll just share a little quote. So I think we have like 25 seconds.
We don't.
So this is just from the part that says like some gifts that we receive from viewpoints. So it's just telling you like the value of this exercise. And one of them is wholeness. So viewpoints awakens all our senses, making it clear how much and how often we live only in our heads and see only through our eyes. Through viewpoints, we learn to listen with our entire bodies, and we see with a sixth sense. We receive information from levels we were not even aware existed and begin to communicate back with equal depth.
Cool.
Sometimes I would love to send a personality test to all the clients and people I'm meeting before. It's impossible, so I need to be present and just listen. I would love to do that, but yeah, this is... And what you said will be very important in VR pretty soon.
Yo, you're so right. Okay, great. I'm like,
Well, yeah, I totally relate with that. What you're saying about that book and the tempo and tone and stuff like that. Because when I'm really kind of bamboozled on an interaction problem, I try to think about it in terms of interpersonal interaction, a conversation. Or like dialogue in a play, sort of thing. And it really helps me. Like, I wouldn't tell this person this thing. That would be weird. So it kind of, it's a grounding thing sometimes for me, at least when I'm stuck on interaction.
So when you're stuck, you're just standing and talking to a user in your room.
Yes. And I'm like, Carol, that's weird, Kira. Don't do that.
would you say that UX is kind of more from the viewpoint of time and how things are organized in time, but UI, it has to do more with space?
Ooh. It's for sure. It's time. At the beginning of this show and share, we talk about scenarios, and it's all about what's came before, what's today, what's next. Dashboard is always that. What's happening today? What happened yesterday? What's happening tomorrow? What will predict that will happen tomorrow? So time, of course. But UI as a space, I see it as a touch point in time, maybe. But space, yeah, it is. You're touching something. Fanny, I'm pretty sure you have an opinion on that.
Well, yeah, I really like what you found there, Michelle. Like UX, we talk about UX in terms of flows, so like the order of the stuff that happens, it's the timeline, and then UI, we talk about it with layouts and like physical components. So it might well be more about the concreteness of the placemaking, and like the other one is the storyline. I like that.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Hey, thank you, guys. That was fun. That was fun again. So let's do another show and share soon.
Next up, P&P the musical.
Oh,
Ready.
yeah.
On stage.
Maybe on Twitch, yeah. See you, everyone.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks,
Hi,
everybody.
Drew.